So I've been qualified for about 5-6 years now. I'm working in London at the moment. Well, not at the moment currently, but all dental practices are closed, but still. Yeah, and then I work in general practice on a day-to-day basis.
And so what does your day look like at the moment then?
What's that now, we mean?
Yeah.
As in right now, I wake up at 9 o'clock. I have a 9:30 benchmark session. I have breakfast, I have lunch, and I have dinner, and then I go to sleep.
And then so it's a lot quieter now. Are you getting many calls? Obviously, you're on call at the moment.
So at the moment, yeah. So two times a week, I'm on call, basically doing phone calls for patients who are ringing up our practice in pain. So they ring up and then I just kind of give advice on what to do, basically, because obviously people are still in loads of pain during this crisis. So hopefully I'm doing what I can to help.
What where do you sort of think people go wrong when it comes to like sort of dental hygiene, oral hygiene? Would that be the right term?
Dental hygiene, yeah. There's two main things. Number one is how well you brush your teeth, and number two is kind of how much sugar that you're having. People are, have these misconceptions just because what you learn on a day-to-day basis you learn how to brush your teeth from your parents, you learn what to eat and what not to eat, but there's lots of common misconceptions that people don't know about. So that's what I'll be going over today, basically.
Right, amazing. And so talk to me. Let's start off with the sugar front then, because that's going to be one thing that's going to be big for the guys and girls watching. Yeah. What happens from sugar then? Start with that.
So basically with sugar, what happens is the bacteria in your mouth use that sugar to create acid, and it's the acid that actually breaks down your teeth. So that's the thing that causes decay in your teeth. So a lot of people come up to me on a day-to-day basis and say, oh, Priya, it's because I'm getting old, my teeth are rotting. Or they'll be like, oh, it's my genetics, my parents had really bad teeth, so I've got bad teeth as well. But that's quite a common misconception. It is mainly just sugar and bacteria, that's it.
Well, that's the same like with us though, really, because we get a lot of people that will say like, oh, I can't do it, I'm too old, or I'm a sore because I'm getting older, and it's like it's not like, it is just an age. Do age and genetics play a factor though, or is that later on in life, or does it come down to how you've sort of looked after your teeth over a long period of time?
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's how you've looked after your teeth for a long period of time. If you get a hole, you end up with a filling. That filling is eventually going to fail. It's eventually going to fall out or something like that. Everything in dentistry has a sell-by date. So at the moment, what we're trying to hone in on is the prevention side of things. We don't want that person to come with a problem in the first place, because that inevitably gets them into the cycle of coming to the dentist to get that replaced again. So the main focus with dentistry all the way around the UK now is more prevention rather than actually
cure
in the actual decay.
Yeah, because like say once you've got to that point where your tooth is in agony, it's too late by that point, and you should have been working on it. Like there's so many correlations between exercise and dentistry.
Yeah, exactly. So I think with teeth as well, it's like obviously there are kind of symptoms as you go along. If your tooth has like sensitivity to cold things, sweet things, it's an indication that you've got decay. There is the odd sorts of patients who literally have no symptoms before they get proper toothache. So that's why it's so important that you should be coming to see the dentist regularly, because you might not have symptoms, but you might have a problem in your mouth, so that's why it's really important.
So I'll touch on that then. So so obviously the acid levels in your body will change when you're exercising, literally after you're exercising. Does anything change within your mouth when you're exercising or after? Like is there a better time to do it around your training?
What's that? As in eating wise, or what do you
mean? Like brushing your teeth. So that first. Yeah.
So what happens is, like, say you've eaten something, right, sugary, it inevitably produces acid in the mouth. Okay, and what happens is that touches your tooth and basically makes that tooth slightly weaker. So it's like having in geography, you might have learned this about rocks and acid, and the acid erosion is the same thing with your teeth. So if you're basically kind of brushing your teeth straight after eating, what you're actually doing is damaging your teeth further, because they're softer, you're more likely to wear them down even further. So it's really important that you don't brush your teeth straight after.
So so basically the sugar accelerates the acid.
Yeah. So yeah, you've got your bacteria here, you've got your sugar. The bacteria uses that sugar to produce acid. Right. And that acid touches the tooth, and that's the thing that causes kind of holes in your teeth. Can you imagine?
Okay. So that just sort of hits the nail on the head then about healthy eating and whether it is good for your teeth then, because if you say if you were saying something like well, let's talk about something that's not so healthy, so like chocolate and sweets. Is it a misconception that because we're eating it, it's different to it being sort of in your mouth for longer, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so basically a lot of people think, oh, this is another thing. People come in and go, oh, Priya, I don't have that many chocolates or sweets, so why am I still getting holes in my teeth? So basically, it's not just chocolates and sweets that cause holes nowadays. Everything's laced in sugar, basically. That's how supermarkets sell their food, or like manufacturers sell their food. They've laced it in sugar because people like it. So it's really important that you kind of know what types of food contain sugar and what kind of foods don't contain sugar. So it's not just your unhealthy things like your sweets, chocolates, biscuits. It's your healthy things like fruit juices. You've got things like honey. People commonly think Manuka honey and things like that are really good for them health-wise, but for their teeth, they're really bad. Cereals, fruit yogurts, anything fruit flavored, like diluting juices and things like that can cause holes in your teeth. So it's that's really important to know. Another important thing to know is it's not what you eat any day, at the moment. What's important, it's how many times in a day you're eating. So think if there's 24 hours in the day, can you imagine? And you're having your breakfast, your lunch, and your evening meal. What happens is during your breakfast, you have a sugar attack. We call it sugar attacks. Technical word.
Extreme technical word.
Extreme technical word there. But no, you have a sugar attack during breakfast, and then your mouth recovers. And then you have lunch, and then again you have a sugar attack, and then your mouth recovers, and then you have your evening meal. Okay, so in that way you're not going to cause any damage to your teeth, because you're allowing your mouth to relax and recover from that sugar attack in between meals. But if you're kind of constantly grazing on foods or sipping on drinks throughout the day, that's when you're going to damage your teeth, because you're not giving it that rest period after meals, to kind of recover. So essentially what you're doing is, over that so many hours in the day, you're constantly coating your teeth in sugar throughout the day. So what we try to advise, so carry on, sorry.
No, go. Yeah, you go.
So what we try to kind of advise is to have your regular meals, have everything you want during your regular meals, but it's in between is try to avoid kind of anything during then. But obviously we're all human, so we do need to snack now and again. Like if someone told me not to snack, I don't think I could survive. But it's knowing kind of what to snack on. So there's certain foods that are absolutely fine to have between meals, and that's things like proteins, like your chicken and your kind of fish and things like that. You can have carbohydrates such as like toast, not covered in jam, covered in butter.
Toast covered in honey.
Yeah, exactly. Don't cover it in honey or jam. The other things is like breadsticks, hummus, things like that. Other things are vegetables. So like, your kind of celery, cucumber, carrot, you can dip it in hummus if you want. And the other thing is like dairy, but you have to be careful, because like plain yogurt is fine, but fruit flavored yogurts are not. And things like that. So that's really good. Another one, a really good one, is cheese. But
cheese and wine.
Cheese and wine. Wine, remember, alcohol contains a lot of sugar. But
I was going to say that we'll get on
to
we'll get onto wine and coffee and teas and everything then. So touching on that then, is what you're saying related to like the glycemic index then?
Yeah, basically, exactly. It's how the sugar you eat kind of breaks down into, and whether that can cause damage to your teeth, basically.
Yeah. So again, like what you're saying is very related to like the general sort of diet and nutrition advice that we would give out, which is don't not have them, but have them, but have them in a balanced way, but don't have them 2 or 3 times a day. So it's making sure that you're having stuff that's not higher on the glycemic index often.
Yeah. Exactly. So like your carbs are better. Carbs don't actually for instance, damage your teeth at all. Things like vegetables, like potatoes and things like that, and like toast, bread, things like that are absolutely fine to have in between your meals. I wouldn't be having plenty of it, but you know, it is okay to have a snack now and again on it. But yeah, you just have to be careful what you're kind of coating it in. Another good thing to snack on actually is nuts, but again, not honey roasted nuts, just normal nuts, like.
And so what's the difference between having, I know what the difference is, especially from like a nutritional point of view, but what's the difference between having an apple and having apple juice then?
So whole fruit tends to be a lot better to snack on than like a juice, because what happens is, like, for instance, like an apple has a sugar inside it, as do most fruits, but it's like basically it contains intrinsic sugars. So intrinsic sugars cause less harm than what apple juice contains, which is an extrinsic sugar. So as I said, like intrinsic sugars are basically the cells within the apple. The sugar is inside that cell, so it can't do the damage because it's inside the cell. Whilst if it's an extrinsic sugar, it means it's outside the cell and it's more likely to cause holes. So basically what happens with an apple juice, it's basically a mushed up apple, and basically by mushing it up, what you're doing is you're creating all these extrinsic sugars, and it's basically just like a sugary drink. So as I said, so it's better to have a whole fruit rather than kind of like a juice or such, including like things like smoothies. Smoothies are terrible for your teeth. So
when we spoke earlier, though, what was the recommendation you gave for instead of?
Oh, you're breaking up. Sorry, 1 second, Mark. You're breaking up a bit. Say that again, Mark.
And make sure I've not lost her. Sorry. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
I can just hear you. Cool.
Oh, it's breaking up a bit now, Mark. 1 sec. Sorry. My internet's been a bit funny.
No, I think that's all working. No, I think that's cool. Yes, was your into smoothies smoothies aren't exactly bad. Obviously, it's what we give as an alternative to having, say, more fruit in a smoothie.
Yeah. 1 second, Mark, you're breaking up again. Sorry. 1 second. Let me see if I can get that. 1 sec.
Sorry. Can you hear me now, Priya?
Yeah, a little bit better.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was going to get Mitt in to sort out the connection.
Mitt, help.
Mitt, help. I don't know what the connection's doing.
Tell me again if it goes funny.
Yeah. It's just because the pitch is breaking up a little bit, but your voice is going in and out. Again, breaking up a little bit, but we'll see.
Let me try it without these headphones on, and let's see if it's.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, let's see if that sounds any better. So what was the alternative then when it comes to, say, making a smoothie? What would be healthier for you?
So what would be better if you make a vegetable smoothie? That's absolutely fine. So, but then try to again avoid the putting things in that could be sugary, like sugar, honey, things like that, and everything. But vegetable smoothies are absolutely fine. Another thing you could have. Really boring, I know, but water and milk are absolutely fine in terms of drinks to have in between your meals. Obviously the odd smoothie for your breakfast, as I said, whatever you have during your breakfast, lunch, and your evening meal is going to be a sugar attack, no matter what. So if you want your smoothie, have it with your breakfast, have it with your lunch, but don't try to avoid it as a snack in between, because that's when it does the damage, basically.
Yeah. So from like a an oral hygiene point of view. You want to sort of have it all at once as opposed to spreading it out throughout the day. Yeah,
exactly. I always say this like analogy to my patients. It's like if I have a box of celebrations, and say I have it, but I have it for my breakfast, which I never do, but just just as an analogy, right? If I have it as all in one, rather than you, Mark, who has it throughout the day, but like kind of picking on it throughout the day, you're the one who's going to end up with holes in your teeth because you're constantly covering your teeth in sugar all day, whilst I've just had that one sugar hit.
Yeah.
So, but again, not I wouldn't recommend that to anyone, but
I'm not trying to recommend having a whole.
You probably will be sick, but there you go.
So is it the amount? So let's say if you had more sugar, but more sugar, but all within the space of an hour, compared to having less sugar, but all the way throughout the day, is there a difference?
Exactly. So the latter would be worse. So having less sugar but spread over the day would be worse. So basically, just if you stick to your regular meals, you'll tend not to get a problem with your teeth in terms of decay. Obviously, it's important how well you brush your teeth as well. Like there's two things. Remember, there's sugar and bacteria. So if you've got loads of bacteria in your teeth, on your teeth, then you're more likely to get holes. So it's kind of like both of them working together to cause that hole. You need both of them to get the decay.
So what's so after say if after you've had a meal, then when would be the best time to brush your teeth then?
Yeah, so what I tend to advise is when you first thing in the morning, especially, what I tend to do is brush my teeth first thing, then go have a shower, get ready, do everything. So you have some time for that toothpaste to kind of soak into your teeth. You're not meant to rinse your mouth out with water straight after brushing your teeth, because you're essentially taking off all that toothpaste. So it's not had any time to work. It's like putting Savlon on your hand and then rinsing it down the tap. That's what it's like.
It's like wash. Everyone's got to wash their hands incredibly at the moment, but it's like literally like washing your hands, but then pouring the water out at the same time. Like it's not.
It's just like as if like it's not giving it some time to kind of absorb. So the most important thing is I brush my teeth, don't rinse my mouth out or anything like that. Then I go have a shower, get ready, do what I need to do before I go to work, and then I'll have my breakfast just before leaving. That's a good way of doing it, or you can do it the other way around. So like basically you have breakfast first thing, go get ready, give it an hour roughly, and then brush your teeth afterwards. So normally we say give it an hour before you brush your teeth, basically.
But either way, leave the paste on your teeth for a long time.
So what you do, you brush your teeth, obviously spit it out, but you don't rinse it out. If you rinse it out, basically you're just kind of not giving it time, you're diluting it, and you're not giving it time to work.
Right, that makes perfect sense.
Think of it like a medication. Like, if you're going to put Savlon, for instance, on your hand on a cut, you wouldn't rinse it down the tap straight away, things like that. So you basically brush your teeth, spit the toothpaste out, and then just don't rinse. You can use mouth rinse, but just don't use that straight after brushing. You can give it an hour before you use mouth rinse. So what a lot of people tend to do again is brush their teeth first thing when they wake up. As I said, go get ready, allow that toothpaste to kind of soak in a little bit, and then come back, have some breakfast, and then use a mouth rinse after that.
Yeah. Right. These are things you just don't learn, Priya. We just don't get told these things.
No, I was like, I learned it all at university. So, it's common things that everyone does, but like you wouldn't learn it unless you go to dental school. So, that's what our job is, to kind of obviously educate our patients. Yeah, exactly.
So talk to me about, like, say, protein shakes then. How are they for your teeth?
So protein shakes, I've been researching this a little bit at the moment. Protein shakes have got low sugar ones or no sugar ones. Yeah. So the low sugar ones, again, the thing is, it's whether you have the sugar or not. So some people say, oh, but Priya, it's only got a really small amount of the sugar in it. I'm having it as a snack. It's only got a really small amount of sugar. It doesn't matter if it's a small amount or a large amount, it's still classed as a sugar attack. So we say, as I said, we allowed kind of 4 sugar attacks in a day: your breakfast, your lunch, your something after work, an evening meal, okay? But it doesn't matter how much, if it's 1 gram or 10 grams sugar, it still counts as an attack. Yeah. So with protein shakes, I've been noticing that some of them do have low sugar content. So if you're going to have a protein shake, it's class it as one of your meals. Okay. So class it as one of those kind of you know, after work kind of meals or something like that, but have it all in one. Okay, don't have it as like sipping on it throughout the day. You know, that's the best way to do it. I think people generally do that, don't they? Anyway, like
most people do, yeah. But I do find some people will make a smoothie and they'll just spread it out over the day.
Exactly, that's when you're going to cause damage. The other thing is, I think there's the no sugar ones as well, that contain sweeteners.
Yeah, I'll say that.
Yeah, they're absolutely fine for your teeth. If they contain sweeteners don't damage your teeth at all. The bacteria can't use that type of, you know, sweeteners to cause a hole. So you can get the no sugar ones as well. But I think they're more expensive, aren't they, or something? I don't know.
No, so generally like, they're not bad. Then it's just a case of just avoid like the high sugar ones.
Yeah, exactly. Avoid the high sugar ones, but also if you're going to have the low sugar one, just to have it as a meal, or and don't tend to sip it throughout the day. Just have it all in one. What you can also do is straight after having it is having a glass of water. So you're kind of rinsing your mouth out a little bit after having it. So again, you're kind of washing away kind of those sugars a bit faster than, you know, if you weren't having the water. So that's another thing that you can do. Or you can have like something really alkaline, like yogurt and things like that. But I don't think you'll want that after a protein shake. So yeah.
What, like, so when it comes to like injuries or like illnesses, like more so illnesses, like we tend to not recommend people to come in if they're unwell. What if someone has, say, if they have toothache or if they have some, like, or they've just had a tooth out or something?
Yeah.
Or...
So if you've got toothache, you could still technically go to the gym, and if you can manage the pain with painkillers and things like that, it's whether you're mentally up for going to the gym when you're in pain. I know for sure when I'm in pain, I just want to go to bed and just shout at me, you know, stuff like that. But each to their own. If you want to go to the gym, you're in a little bit of pain from your toothache, that's absolutely fine. But you know, I think it's more if you've had kind of dental treatment at the surgery, then to give it at least like 24 hours before you go back to the gym, just because number one, you'll be numb, so you won't be able to feel your face. The other thing is that you could potentially have had a tooth taken out or something like that. So if you've had a bit of surgery, basically, you should be resting and not going to the gym for at least 24 hours. So that's what I would recommend.
So especially if you've had some sort of local anaesthetic, I don't really want you to be coming into the gym a little bit.
You don't want to go with a face to the gym. Like, you wouldn't be able to feel your, like, just, I wouldn't recommend it.
All right. I'm just going to click on Facebook. I'm just going to see if we have any questions. Hopefully they're not questions saying my tooth's hurting, what should I do?
Well, if you want my help, that's absolutely fine as well. Call me on my on-call then.
One question that got asked earlier was, say, what about like stress and like general life stress? Can that make a difference to your teeth? Exactly.
So obviously we've been talking a lot about dental decay. There's other kind of diseases that you can have in the mouth. One common one is gum disease. Mm-hmm. So gum disease is where your gums, you might have seen those adverts on the thing where, you know, that woman's looking in front of a mirror and gums are bleeding and things like that. So kind of gum disease is basically where the kind of your gums around your teeth become unhealthy, okay? Yeah. And then your teeth could potentially become wobbly, okay, over time, yeah? So stress doesn't cause gum disease. That's really important to say, okay? It's caused by bad oral hygiene, smoking, things like that. But what stress can do is if you have bleeding gums, it can make it worse. So it doesn't cause it. There's something else that causes it. But then what happens with stress, it can actually exacerbate it. It can make it worse, like the effects of it. So it is really important to obviously have ways to de-stress during the day. We all get stressed in loads of different ways. So yeah, I, for instance, do yoga about once or twice a week, more so now that I'm self-isolating, but you know, it does help. It does help.
What so touching on that then, say obviously with exercise helping with stress, which will help with any sort of gum disease or anything like that. Is there any sort of correlation between healthy teeth and exercise, or is there any correlations between them two? Like, do if you exercise more, is it going to benefit then?
I think it builds you kind of a positive mentality towards looking after yourself in a way. So You know, if you go to the gym, you look after yourself, you look after your health, you're more likely to look after your oral health as well. You know, it's all connected. As with anything, you're probably recommending quite like an exercise regime, you know, where you basically advise people to do this many times a week, this to see an improvement. It's the same thing with oral hygiene. It's a regime. It's making sure that you're brushing twice a day, you know, you're doing all the right things in terms of that as well. So yeah, that's the kind of the main correlation between them two.
It's about being consistent and not
exactly. Like it's not like, you know, it's like if I go to the gym like, you know, 3 times a week and then start flailing and doing 2 times a week and then 1 time a week and then not going. It's the same thing as like brushing your teeth. If you're going to brush your teeth twice a day, we want you to brush your teeth twice a day every day, you know. It's the same thing. So yeah, you can't
start, if you like I say, if you go to the gym twice then once, then you don't go again, you can't start complaining if you're unhappy about something. You made that decision to
exactly. There's always like negative effects by not going to the gym. It's the same thing. You're going to have negative effects by not brushing your teeth or eating sugar all the time and things like that. So yeah,
I'm going to finish off with one more question. What's the one thing you get asked as a dentist the most? Not technical, I'm talking like when you're at a dinner party.
When you're the main, well, that's a good one. What do they ask me the most? The first thing they say, if they know that I'm a dentist, they'll go, "Oh, I've got a horror."
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah,
that's what they do, and I'm like, "Oh, great."
It's one night away from it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what commonly asked. And the other thing is, how do you look in people's mouths?
Oh yeah. So how do you do it? Oh, that's only joking.
Yeah, it's fine. Get used to it. It's fine. I miss it. Is that weird?
So you miss it?
I miss work, yeah, a little bit.
Do you just Google teeth for mouth and just sort of have a look and you miss it?
I know, I'm a teeth geek. That's what I am.
You need to be fair.
I know, exactly.
Right, amazing. We'll stop there. If we have any more questions, I'm gonna post them over to you. And if anyone's got any toothache, you'll be the first person that
Thank you very much. I'm very excited for that call. Thank you.
Enjoy your wine. Oh, we didn't get onto wine and coffee. We'll finish off with that actually. Yeah. Wine and coffee. Talk to me.
Wine's got loads of sugar in it, right?
Yeah.
Again, it's got sugar, but it's about having it at the right time. So having a wine with your dinner time is absolutely fine. Having the odd glass of wine with your lunch, that's absolutely fine too. If you want it for your breakfast, a breakfast prosecco, that's fine too. But it's in between, you have to try and be careful. A lot of people tend to kind of have, you know, drinking sessions where they go to the pub and they'll be drinking over the evening and stuff. Yeah. So I'm not going to tell you not to do it, you know, because obviously I have the odd time where I go to the pub and do the same thing. But it's about doing the right thing straight after. So not brushing your teeth straight after and giving it an hour before you brush your teeth. Yeah. And the other thing is you can have a piece of cheese or something like that. Make it a cheese and wine night. Because what happens with the cheese, it neutralizes the acids. So the acid has no time to damage your teeth. So I'm not telling you to do that every day. But, you know, the odd time it's absolutely fine.
So if you've learned anything, if you're going to have wine, just make sure you
have a piece of cheese. Yeah, exactly. I told Charlotte that the other day. She said it was the best information she's had from me. So there you go.
That is the best. If you can learn one thing from this, is to have more cheese with your wine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, who doesn't like cheese?
Right, amazing. I'm going to leave you to it. I'll leave you to enjoy your cheese and wine.
Yes.
Thank you very much for that, Priya.
No problem at all.
See you on Thursday morning at our session.
Oh, yay. I'm very excited. Yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Have
Priya.
a good evening, Mark. Bye.
Bye.